Welcome back, guys, to yet another episode of How to Start a Successful Moving Company. My name is Vlad, and I'm the owner of Boston Small Moves and Storage, located in nowhere else rather than Boston. Recently rebranded to Limitless Moving and Storage. And basically what I'm doing is I'm starting a episode series of how to start a successful moving company from ground zero, like I did from a cargo van, and work your way up to a nationwide and international moving company, which is one of the things that I hope to do with my company in the future if other opportunities don't come aboard. So basically we're going to cover a multitude of what you need legally in this episode to run a moving company, and at least I'm going to go over what we need in my state. If you're from the Boston area, this episode is perfectly for you. But most of these should be pretty consistent, but some do vary state by state. So without any further ado, guys, please like and subscribe this to my channel, because actually it's going to help me fight the YouTube algorithm. It's going to help me get more exposure to this video. But that being said, let's dive right into it, guys, and what you're going to need legally in order to run a successful moving company. Another thing, guys, do you guys have Dunkin' in your area? In the comment down below, let me know if you guys have Dunkin' in your area. I know that it's not in every single state, and it's not as common as it is around here in Boston. First Dunkin' was actually opened in Quincy, Mass, really close to Boston, guys. But anyway, without any further ado, what you're going to want to do is you want to figure out what legal structure you want to go with when starting your moving company. Whether it's going to be a sole proprietorship, an LLC, and you can elect between an S and a C Corp, whichever way you want to get taxed. That you'd want to talk to your CPA about, because that's going to be very important in the way that you file your taxes annually. Or if you're going to choose a partnership, whether it's just going to be just you or somebody else, that's when you're going to want to pursue a partnership as opposed to sole proprietorship. And that can be a little bit iffy with splitting profits, yada yada yada. So you definitely want to talk to a lawyer when you're doing that as well. But essentially, a lot of people, the most affordable way is to do a sole proprietorship and go register at your local town hall as a DBA. That's what I did. And that means doing business as. You register your name, like my name, Vlad Ivanov, DBA. It was Boston Small Moves. You pay about $50 to get this certificate that says you're a legal business entity, and then you can pursue getting your company insured. So once you have your legal entity, you can contact a multitude of insurance brokers to get different quotes. But what you're going to need in the state of Massachusetts, you're going to need your general liability insurance, you're going to need commercial insurance, and you're going to need workers' comp insurance. And basically, what general liability insurance is going to cover is it's going to cover for any financial amounts that you're obligated to pay due to damages or medical payments because of bodily injury, property damage, or personal advertising injury to third parties occurring during the policy period caused by or relating contractors' work. And I got the exact definition on Google for you to help you understand. That's very important, because you don't want to be held liable for anything that you break on the job or someone that gets hurt. But general liability insurance is pretty good in terms of, like, for a moving company, like if you break a TV or something, and once you have an established reputation, it doesn't really matter if someone throws out a pretty bad review, which you never should be okay with that. But the situation that can happen is, like, general liability insurance pays out a certain amount, dollar amount per pound, and a customer's not going to like it too much when they're $1,000 TV. You'd only get less than $100 for it. But that's just the way that the general liability insurance payout is structured in the state of Massachusetts. I don't know exactly how it is structured in different states, but it does cover you from paying out large sums when you break something. But that being said, sometimes it is better when you're starting off to just pay out whatever it is in the beginning to avoid a bad review. You definitely, when you only have like 5 or 10 reviews, you don't want to have one that's bad and like perfectly in the front and just destroying your company's reputation. So that's something to take into account. The second type of insurance you're going to need to shop around for is commercial insurance. I'm pretty sure this is in every single state. You're going to need commercial insurance to get a license plate onto your truck, and essentially what it covers you for is the cost of any accidents involving business-owned vehicles. It also covers theft, vandalism, and certain types of vehicle damage, probably like a tree falling, or like if you really want to get the nitty-gritty, if you hit a deer or something like that, you can apply that into your policy. And also it's going to be like what you're going to contact your agent for when you're getting a certificate of insurance, commonly referred to as a COI. That's the acronym for it, a certificate of insurance. Pretty much is just proof that you have insurance and that you waive the liability factor fully to whoever the client is or the company is that you're working for. And also with your vehicle insurance, you want to make sure your vehicles are inspected, because very important to have your vehicles up to date, which we're going to get back into why that's super important farther down on this list. And yes, the commercial insurance, guys, you definitely want to make sure that you're covered for any auto accidents. I mean, those can be very, very petrifying if you ever get into those, God forbid. But you want to be covered in the case of any employee injury, any bystander injury, anything like that. You don't want to be left in the red without coverage, because you can be not only legal recourse but financial recourse for the rest of your life. You're going to be in some big doo-doo, and you don't want to be in that kind of situation. So always make sure to be covered. It's always good to be over prepared rather than under prepared. Another thing you want to get, guys, give me 1 second. The last insurance policy you want to carry, you want to make sure that you're carrying workman's comp insurance. That's pretty much gonna protect you from any injuries or disabilities that occur based on some incident that occurred in the workplace, and whether it's mental or physical. Most of the time it's going to be physical, but if it's something traumatic, someone could claim that it's impeding on their day-to-day life, and that could also be in the realm of being paid out through workman's comp insurance. So you want to make sure that you're always covered 100%. You never know who you're dealing with, guys. Employees may put on the greatest smile and be the greatest person in the world, but months down the line, you never know who they are, and you never know exactly what someone's going to pull. It's never good to be skeptical about who's coming in, but it's always good to be prepared, because someone could easily fake it, but something also could really actually happen on the job, and you want to make sure that you're covered in the case of anything. So that is something that you need to carry. Actually, you need to have workers' comp in order to get a DOT number, which is the next thing down on this list, and that's a Department of Transportation number. That's basically saying that your vehicles are legal and licensed and ready to go on the road, and there's nothing wrong with them. And that's why I talked about the vehicle inspection. Going back to that, if you have a DOT number and your vehicles aren't inspected, you can get pulled over by the DOT, and they can call state troopers on the scene, and you can get impounded, and you get a $10,000 fine off the bat. And for every night that your truck is in the impound up until it's repaired and street legal, you're going to be paying those fees. Unbelievably crazy stuff that you don't want to deal with. So just make sure you have that licensing taken care of ahead of time before you start running trucks on the road, guys. MC number is also another thing you want to get that's kind of along the same lines but a little bit different, but you do want to carry that as well. Another thing going down, guys, a DPU, Department of Public Utilities. I'm not sure if every single state has a Department of Public Utilities, but the Massachusetts does, called MDPU number, Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities number, and that's pretty much your license by the state, allowing you to do moving services, saying, okay, you're a legitimate company, your vehicles are legal, you're recognized as a fully insured, fully capable, fully licensed company, and we're allowing you to do moving services for companies and personal clients. So you want to have that at the state level. DOT and MC is more federal. You want to make sure that you're covered with all the 3 types of insurances. You want to make sure you have a business entity, and that way you will be legally structured to be able to do business legally, and anything that ever happens, you're fully covered. If you get pulled over, you're fine. If some injury happens, you're fine. If something breaks on the job, you're fine. So you want to make sure you have those. But we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper. and we're going to go into what kind of contractual paperwork you might want to have in terms of when you're starting to deal with customers, because you never want to get screwed over. You never want to get screwed over, and in the case that someone's being a difficult customer, you want to be fully prepared. The last thing that's fully legal that you should definitely have is a bill of lading, and a bill of lading kind of states like the scope of the job, the inventory that's being transported, and just in general the most specific parts of the job. It's just a sheet of paper that states all that. And when you get pulled over, what's one of the first things that the DOT will ask you for? Can I see your bill of lading? Or the state troopers are going to ask you, can I see your bill of lading? It's a little bit different than a service contract. That, and also they're going to ask you for a DOT medical card. Any driver that you have is going to need a DOT medical card. It's different from a CDL. It's basically just a card that's allowing any employee who's driving a commercial vehicle to say that, hey, I'm not on drugs and I'm physically capable. I don't have any disorders that impede me from legally driving a truck in Massachusetts or beyond. So you want to make sure you have those. That's what they're going to ask you for, as well as registration and insurance information. They're going to ask you for that if you ever get pulled over. But brushed upon it, customer service contract, you're going to need that, basically stating the terms of the contract, pricing, timing, dates, what the scope of the job is. It's pretty much, it's a simpler version of a bill of lading. Very important to have, and the more detailed you can get it, the better, because if you ever run into an issue with that, you can bring it over to your lawyer. Also, you want to have a card on file contract. That's pretty much saying that you can take the card number and you can run it after. Sometimes it could just be like the customer doesn't have time and they want you to charge the card after. It gives you legal permission to do that. But also, if you're in a situation where you're feeling a little sketched out, it gives you that ease of mind that you can run their card, and so that way there's no flight factor. But having all those contracts, if you ever need to reach out to your lawyer if there's ever a problem, your lawyer can use those and they can file what's called an order of attorney. It's a legal form of recourse that says, hey, you have this much time to come up with the money. You guys have made an agreement when both parties have signed that this is the agreement, it's a service agreement, bill of lading, card on file, all that stuff. All those combined is going to make a very great case for you when your lawyer files an order of attorney. And basically, if you have all that information, it's pretty much foolproof. Customer has to pay, or you can take them to small claims court if it's under X amount of dollars, or you could take it to higher level court if it's starting to exceed a larger sum of money, which can incur with moving jobs. As you guys know, that moving jobs can be pretty hefty. I mean, you could be paying, customer can owe you over $10,000 for one single move. If you're going across the country, I mean, you can be going even higher than that. So that's very important. And the last thing I'm going to leave you guys off is, talked about workers' comp, but you want to make sure that you have a good employer contract, and that's pretty much going to state the terms of what your employer what your employee is supposed to do, and how to properly fulfill that job. Also, any infractions in the recourse that it can lead to, say if they're doing drugs or talking to a customer inappropriately, or breaking stuff intentionally, stuff like that it can lead to punishment or termination, which any of those that I just listed should be actual cause for termination. But then there could be smaller infractions that could lead to hour cuts, or just other smaller forms of punishment. So that's important to have, guys. And basically, I hope this kind of gives you a good outline of what you need to run a moving company. If it sounds like I'm talking a little bit fast, I actually recorded this entire video once before, and the feed cut on me for some reason. So I just didn't have the patience to do it as slowly and calmly as I did the first time. So I hope you guys can understand why I'm talking a little bit faster. But it looks like it's rolling this time. So anyway, the information is the same, and I hope you guys definitely got something out of that. To give you guys a general idea too about pricing with insurances, actually before I go, general liability can range from when you're starting off between $1,000 to $2,000. Commercial insurance can range from $1,500 to $2,000 per vehicle. Workers' comp is definitely it depends on how much hours you're giving employees, and in the beginning it could be between $2,000 to $5,000 probably annually. This is all annual numbers, guys, but some of them you can pay, the commercial insurance you can pay monthly. General liability and workers' comp around here, they ask for a lump sum. annual, like just one-time payment. So that is the way that they do that. But that'll give you a decent scope. DOT numbers, you can file that with a lawyer, or you can file it yourself for free. But I would recommend, if you have no idea what you're doing, to go through a lawyer. Mass DPU number, I think it's like $100. I talked about DBAs, how it's like $500. If you're looking to get, $50 for a DBA at your local town hall. If you're looking for an LLC, you can range between, $200 to $700 for different states for filing fees. I'm not really too sure about partnerships. All the other service contracts down here, you can have your lawyer draft them up. If you have a good lawyer who's not like big time, they can draft those up to you for pretty cheap. Or you can go to some website like LegalZoom and they can do those just as well. It's a little bit cheaper that way. And then depending on how good your lawyer is, when we talked about the order of attorney, that can range from $50 to like $500 depending on what your lawyer charges for their time. So I hope that gives you a good scope of like what pricing is as well. And without any further ado, guys, if you have any other questions, please ask down in the comment section below. You reach out to me on social media and I'll be able to answer most of your questions. And if you want to schedule a consultation, we can definitely work something out in terms of how I can do that for you. If you're looking to start a moving company, if you're looking to just develop your company to the next level. And yeah, that's all I got, guys. So I hope that you found this video informative. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video, which we're going to be talking about the hiring process of employees, how to get employee prospects, how to determine who's a good employee, and how to set boundaries for a good work environment. So that's all I got, guys. I'll see you in the next video.